Ty Borden was gone. For years, everyone at Heartland believed he was lost forever. Then, out of nowhere, he appeared again, standing where no one expected him. The shock was immediate. How could Ty be back? What had happened to him? And how would Amy, Lindy, Jack, and the others react to this impossible return? Ty's sudden comeback changed everything at Heartland. It was not just a surprise. It was a shock that shook the very heart of the family and friends who thought they had lost him. For Amy, seeing Ty again brought a flood of memories and feelings she thought were buried deep. Lindy's eyes filled with tears she could not hold back. Jack stood frozen, unsure how to welcome the man he had missed for so long. Every face at Heartland showed a mix of joy, disbelief, and pain. Ty didn't look the same. His eyes told stories of hardship and secrets kept in silence. His body was stronger but worn, and there was a quiet sadness behind his smile. He had come back not just to visit, but with a purpose no one could yet understand. As he stepped through the doors of Heartland, the past and present collided in a way that would change their lives forever. The people of Heartland struggled to find words. Some reached out immediately, desperate to hold on to the hope that Ty's return was real. Others hesitated, afraid to get hurt again. Questions filled the air. Why did Ty leave? Where had he been? What had he been through? But for now, those questions waited as the first moments of reunion took center stage. The silence was heavy, filled with all the things left unsaid. Amy's heart raced. Her mind went back to the days when she and Ty dreamed of a future together, of building a family and a life filled with love. Now that dream felt fragile, like a glass waiting to break or be repaired. She reached out, her hand trembling, and Ty took it gently. It was a simple touch, but it carried years of longing and loss. Around them, the world seemed to hold its breath. Lindy could barely speak. She remembered the pain of losing Ty, the empty spaces in her family that no one could fill. Yet here he was, standing in front of her, real and alive. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she stepped forward, wrapping her arms around him. For a moment, all the pain melted away, replaced by a fragile hope. Jack watched quietly, unsure how to bridge the gap that time and distance had created. But he knew one thing for sure. Ty's return was the beginning of something new. Ty looked at each person with a mix of regret and determination. He wanted to explain, to tell them everything, but the words wouldn't come yet. Instead, he let his presence speak louder than any story. The years apart had changed them all, but in that moment they were united by something deeper than time, by the family they had built and the love that never faded. The shock of Ty's comeback was only the start. What he brought with him, the pain, the secrets, and the chance for healing, would test everyone at Heartland in ways they never expected. But for now, the reunion was real, and it was powerful. It reminded them that even after the darkest times, hope could find a way back home. No one at Heartland could believe their eyes when Ty stepped back onto the farm. It wasn't just that he was alive. It was the way he carried himself. Strong, quiet, but with a weight in his eyes that spoke of battles fought far away from the peaceful fields they all knew. The air felt heavy with unspoken stories. Amy's heart hammered in her chest as she watched him walk slowly toward her, each step filled with a mix of hope and fear. Ty's return wasn't just a surprise visit. It was a moment that broke the silence of years. Amy's friends gathered around, eyes wide, whispers floating through the warm air. Lindy clutched her phone, hands shaking, as she stared at the man who had been missing from their lives for so long. Jack stood at the barn door, leaning against the wooden frame, trying to steady his breath as memories rushed back with a sudden sharp sting. Ty's face held scars that went deeper than skin, the kind that time could not heal. His voice, when he finally spoke, was low and steady, but there was a hidden pain beneath every word. He told them little at first, careful not to open wounds that might never fully close. Instead, his presence was a quiet promise. He was here, and he wasn't leaving again. Amy searched Ty's eyes, looking for the man she had loved and lost. She saw a flicker of that same kindness and strength, but also something new, a hardness forged by the hardships he had faced alone. The farm around them, so familiar and warm, seemed both a refuge and a reminder of all that had changed. Their world was different now, but the bond they shared had not broken. Lindy moved closer, the tension in her shoulders easing as Ty's gaze softened when he saw her. The sisterly love between them had never faded, though years apart had tested it. Jack's arms unfolded as he stepped forward, offering a quiet, steady welcome. For the first time since Ty's return, a small smile touched his lips. The family was beginning to heal. But beneath the joy, questions still hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. Why had Ty disappeared without a word? What dangers had he faced? And what did his return mean for the future of Heartland? No one had answers yet, but everyone knew one thing. Life at Heartland was about to change in ways they could never have imagined. Ty looked around the farm, taking in the place he had missed more than he ever admitted. The horses grazing peacefully, the sun setting behind the hills. It was a world worth fighting for. And now that he was back, he would do whatever it took to protect it. The road ahead would be difficult, but together, they might just find a way through the shadows. The farm felt alive again, but the real story was just beginning. Ty's return was more than a miracle. It was a challenge. For Amy, Lindy, Jack, and all who called Heartland home, this was a chance to face the past and build a future that no one could take away. And as the stars appeared one by one in the twilight sky, hope flickered brighter than ever. The moment Ty stepped back into Heartland, old wounds began to surface alongside the joy of reunion. Amy's heart was a storm of emotions, relief, happiness, but also fear. Could she trust him again after all the silence and pain? Their eyes met, and in that quiet gaze, years of longing and unanswered questions hung heavy. Amy wanted to believe this was a new beginning, but the past still whispered in the shadows between them. Lindy's smile was fragile as she wrapped her arms around Ty, but inside, a storm brewed. She had missed her brother fiercely, but his absence had left scars on their family. The silence, the unanswered calls, the empty chairs at the table, they all carved deep lines in her heart. Now that he was here, she needed to know what had kept him away. Her voice trembled when she finally asked, "Why did you leave us like that?" The question hung in the air, raw and urgent. Jack stood a little apart, watching the family circle shift around Ty's return. He felt the weight of unspoken pain and hope, unsure how to bridge the gap that had grown over time. His protective instincts kicked in, but so did his doubts. Could Ty really be back for good? Or was this just a moment before the silence returned? Jack's steady presence was a silent anchor for the family, but even he was not immune to the whirlwind of emotions that Ty's comeback stirred. Ty listened quietly, the lines of regret and determination clear on his face. He wanted to explain, to tell them everything, the battles, the fear, the loneliness, but words felt inadequate. Instead, he let his actions speak. He stayed close, offered help with the chores, and slowly rebuilt trust with gentle patience. Each small step was a piece of the fragile puzzle they were trying to put together again, yet not everyone found it easy to forgive. Some neighbors whispered doubts, and old tensions flared beneath the surface. Ty's return stirred memories of pain and loss, and not everyone was ready to welcome him back. The family felt the pressure of those judgments, but leaned on each other for strength. In this delicate balance of reunion and rebuilding, Heartland showed its true spirit. Resilience born of love and hope. Through it all, the bonds between Amy, Lindy, Jack, and Ty began to mend, not with grand gestures but with quiet moments, shared smiles, late-night talks, and the unspoken understanding that family is more than just blood. It is forgiveness, acceptance, and the courage to face the future together. Ty's comeback was not just about returning home. It was about healing wounds deeper than anyone had dared to show. The road ahead would test them all, but for the first time in years there was a flicker of peace in their hearts. The reunion was real, raw, and full of promise. Heartland was ready to face whatever came next, together. Beneath the warmth of Ty's return, a deeper mystery began to unfold, one that no one at Heartland expected. Whispers started to spread about where Ty had truly been during all those years. The stories he shared were incomplete, shadowed by silence and half-truths. Something had changed him, something he wasn't ready to reveal yet. His eyes held secrets that hinted at dangers far beyond the peaceful farm life. Amy noticed the subtle shifts in Ty's behavior, the nights he stayed silent, staring out into the dark, and the moments when a distant sadness clouded his smile. She wanted to believe that his return was the start of healing, but a knot of worry tightened in her chest. What if the past had followed him home? What if the battles he fought weren't just in memory but still very real and close? Lindy and Jack sensed the tension too. They watched Ty carefully, seeing the cracks beneath his calm exterior. Questions bubbled up among the family and friends. Had Ty escaped from something dangerous? Was there a threat still looming? No one dared to ask outright, but the fear lingered, hanging over the reunion like a storm ready to break. Then came the moment that changed everything. Late one evening, Ty pulled Amy aside, his voice low and urgent. He revealed a secret he had carried, alone. A shadowy past connected to a threat that could endanger not just him but everyone he loved. The truth was heavy, and it demanded a choice: to face the darkness together or to risk losing Heartland once more. The revelation sent shockwaves through the family. The peaceful life they had dreamed of was suddenly under threat, and Ty's comeback was only the beginning of a much larger battle. Trust had to be rebuilt fast and old wounds had to be faced head-on. But with danger closing in, there was no room for doubt or hesitation. Heartland's quiet fields would soon become the front line for a fight none of them expected. But even in the face of uncertainty, one thing was clear: the family would stand united. Together, they would fight to protect the home and each other, no matter what the cost. Ty's return was no accident. It was a call to arms, a beginning that held both hope and peril. As the stars shone down on Heartland that night, the family prepared for a new chapter, one where love, courage, and sacrifice would define their future. The story was far from over. It had only just begun.